With ReadyTech having it's such a unique business and having such a futuristic outlook on education and employment, obviously this COVID situation has thrown a real spanner in the works. What do you see as the future of education and employment? And what's some advice that you would give a budding young person who would be finishing school?
Yeah, it's a great question, Saxon. I certainly think that COVID-19 is exactly as you say, has thrown a spanner in the works and has probably accelerated some trends that were already in place. I think I'd probably say to young people, although it's going to be a tricky time, we certainly will recover, and there's also a lot to be optimistic about. So working across education and work and employment as we do, I think there's probably a couple of really big trends that I'd probably point out. First of all, I think one of the biggest trends is just the continual rise of more and more computerization and computers just doing more, maybe of the tasks and the jobs that people have done previously. I think what we're seeing is that employers are more and more increasingly looking for what we probably call the human skills. And those are the skills that, at this stage, computers can't perform. I think they're going to be more and more sought after. So I'm a very firm believer in that. I think that you can probably put them into four categories. And, I think that I see them as the 4 C's. You've got creativity, critical thinking, which is essentially problem solving, collaboration, which is teamwork, and also communication. And a lot of that goes to building relationships as well and relating to other people. I think that's one of the biggest trends that we're seeing. And I think those skills are going to be the skills that are most sought after in the future. And the reason for that is technology is just changing things so fast. And as things change, we need creative people and critical thinking, and we need collaboration to be able to help to manage that change as society changes, and technology, is certainly not going away. I think that, so when I came out of university, it was actually the start of the internet age, right? So the internet was only just starting in the incredible change that we've seen over 20 years. Like, there's no way we could have predicted the power of the computer that we have now in our mobile phone. So what does that look like in 20 years' time? Now, there's going to be an enormous amount of change, an enormous amount of opportunity. I think the other big thing, Saxon, and COVID-19, I think will only accelerate this as well, is that I think what we're going to see more of is that we'll see more lifelong learning. So I think we'll see people learning for the extent of their lives, as opposed to purely, which has probably been a more traditional, is to sort of front end that. So as things continue to change, I think people are going to need to continue to go back and learn more, smaller chunks of learning over time in what's generally considered a lifelong learning model. What we're seeing is the start of a lot of universities offering some of these shorter courses. We're seeing the opportunity for what's called micro-credentials, which are smaller sort of bite-sized chunks of learning. I think as well that with the computerization that we're probably going to see less sort of repetitive jobs for people. So I think that's really good news for young people. I think there's jobs in the technology industry. There's going to be a lot more jobs in tech. And jobs in tech are just really interesting. As I say, it's really creative. There's a lot of innovation. And so I think there's a lot to be optimistic about, because I think the jobs of the future are just really interesting.
And I think you raised a good point there around the influence of technology. And I think for a lot of young people, when you hear that term technology, you kind of get pigeonholed into the thought of, well, I don't know how to write code and it doesn't interest me. How do you define technology, and how do you be creative in technology?
Yeah, it's a really great question, Saxon, because I think it's a myth as well that needs to be busted about jobs in technology. I'm just looking at our company here. We've got about 250 people. And look, sure, we have a whole bunch of software engineers and very technical roles and testers and so forth. But equally, we actually have probably over half the people working in the business are not actually in directly technical roles. So we have roles like product managers, which really sort of decide and guide, what's going to be the next changes that go into the software. We have project managers, that really relies on a lot of really good organizational skills. We have customer success people. They're actually working on the front lines, supporting our customers. they're great problem solvers, they're great communicators. You know, they really care about customers, so that's a really important trait. So we've got sales roles as well. Obviously, we have marketing, and another role as well, of course, Saxon, which I think is just continue to grow, is around customer experience or user experience, the design side of the technology experience as well, which is sort of quite different from cutting code. I will say, of course, that, you know, I think that there will be huge numbers of jobs in the future still created for those technical roles. I think in that way, I would say that maths, I think in any role, really good maths, you know, so much of that you actually rely on a really good grasp of numbers as well as running a business. I'm a really big proponent of and a really big supporter of young people just taking their maths really seriously. So do your math, kids.